Hello, all you crafty crewers. How are you today? Are you ready to do some crafts? You should have a bag with some sticks, like that. And some of these are called paint chips. When you're looking to paint your house, sometimes you go to, or rooms in your house, sometimes you go to the store and you pick these up and then you bring them home and you tape them on your wall, trying to decide which color to use. I ran out of paint chips, so I just have some colored cardstock that I'm going to use to make my flowers. That's what we're doing today. Because you know, it's almost spring. Did you listen to story time this week? We were talking about spring and how when we live in New England, our snow starts to melt in our spring and we get what we call mud season. It's pretty muddy at my house this week or last week when it was warm. But one of the ways we know it's spring is because the snow starts to melt. And another way is because we start to see flowers. So I thought it'd be fun to make some flower bouquets this week. So here's a big one that I made. Can you see it? So what I did is I took my paper, and you're going to use your paint chips, and I just kind of drew what I thought looked like a flower petal. All right. And then eventually it becomes this. This is like a great big daisy, I guess. All right, so let's see. You're going to need some scissors and glue. So remember, in your bags, you got this glue, the liquid glue, and glue sticks. If you need more, please let me know and I will send some home to you. You can pick it up at the library. What else are you going to need? Something to trace with, your sticks. And then you're going to need to figure out what you have at your house to put your flower on your stick. How are you going to attach it? Are you going to sew it on? Are you going to tape it on? Are you going to try to glue it on? I don't know. It'll be an experiment. I'm not sure glue will work very well, but it's an experiment you can try. I'm going to show you one now. I'm going to switch cameras that I'm going to actually sew together. Let me just switch the cameras so that you can see what I'm doing on my desk. So check this out. I have this very big needle. It's called an embroidery needle. You might have something like this at home. They come in metal or they come in plastic. I put some embroidery floss on it. I'm using that because it's thicker and it will show up better when I am sewing. If you don't have embroidery floss and you have maybe just some thread and you don't have a needle that will fit it, to make a little guide to be going in and out of your holes, here's a little trick. You take a piece of tape and you just wrap it around the end of whatever thread you're using. So this is actually a shoestring. You're not probably going to use that, but I wanted it big to show you. And then you just twist the end so it makes sort of like a little pointy part. And that you can use, oh, if you have a paper punch, that's probably a good thing too. Oh, I shouldn't do it on black though, because then you wouldn't be able to see it. So you could use this to go in and out of your holes. There's a little trick in case you don't have a needle. So what I did with these, I'm going to move the camera down just a little bit there so you can see the holes. I used a little tiny paper punch and I poked holes in my petals. So then I'm going to put my needle through my hole, and I had already done one. So I'm going to slip it right through the hole and pull my string. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go, I think, the other way. So my end of my string will be in the back. So I'm going to go through the back. And I'm going to pull my thread through. Uh-oh, I have a knot already. Pull my thread through and then go in the other side and poke a hole. Remember when you're pulling not to go too far. You want to leave some thread so you can tie it together at the end. It might be easier if you're doing this with little kids is to tape this so that, or knot it so that it doesn't pull out. So I'm going to put my next one right there. I'm going to alternate light green and dark green. I'm going to tape my thread. It doesn't go anywhere. For little kids, it's easier if you pre-do all your holes. This is a great activity for children learning to write. It's good for that pincer grasp. This is called your pincer grasp. And this is an excellent activity, threading. Let's see, so I have light green, dark green. I'm going to go with a light green again. Turn it around. Go through the back on this one. Poke a hole through. Pull my thread. And poke it through again. There's one way of putting your flower together. This is a pretty open-ended craft, so you can, I gave you the pieces to it, but you can figure out at your house how you want to put yours together. That's pretty cool, huh? We'll finish the rest. Now my paper's thin enough that I can go through it without really using pre-punched holes. On your paint chips, it might be a little too thick to do that with. This is just an in and out. See my flower coming together? Let's see, now I need light green again, right? Through the back, pull it through the front. Now we're going from the front to the back, pulling the needle. Now I only have one more left to do. This will be harder because you have to hold it while you're poking your needle through. So went from the back to the front. My last one's going to go from my front to my back. All right, so when you get to this part, you're going to have the thread on your needle and the thread that we started with. Remember, I taped it down so it wouldn't come out. And then you're just going to tie that in a knot. And this part, you might need a grown-up to help you. So one knot. And this loop makes the second knot. And I'm going to do a third one just to be sure it doesn't come undone. And I'm going to trim those off. And I'm actually going to use that same piece of tape just to tape them down. And that will make sure that it's not going to come off. And there. That's a flower that I sewed together. So you have this one that I glued. This is really big. I made this super big so you'd be able to see it on the camera. There's one that I glued together. And here's one that I sewed together. You guys will know what to do, right, to make your petals. I probably should have showed you this first. I just traced it, and then I'm cutting it out with my scissors. Another excellent skill to practice at home. Scissor skills. So there's a petal. And I just decided to make my inside of my flower round. I just found a little cup in my closet and I traced around it. Maybe you can go find something that's round in your house. And that's how I made the petals. I probably should have showed you that first. The other thing I was thinking is if you have some pipe cleaners left over, you can use pipe cleaners to weave in and out. You could use pipe cleaners to, I can't find the center of this flower. I had cut out a black one. I had cut out 2 black ones. I guess we'll use this one. So I'm just going to use my glue stick. I'm going to turn this around because I don't want to see the black part in the front. Maybe I do. Maybe I like it. And I just glued on 4 petals. You hear my dog licking her bone in there. She got the gate open, silly dog. She's pretty noisy. Piper. So I glued 4 on one on each side, and then I put the other petals, I wove them in each section that was still open. And that is how I made my flower. And you can decide if you want this to be the front or if you want to turn it over and have this be the front. So I gave you some sticks, look like this. If you want to have your flowers, say in a pot, you could just put some dirt in a pot, or if you have some styrofoam, you could just tape those sticks to the back of your flower. You could put them outside as long as it's not raining. Or I was going to put mine in an old flower pot. I was going to fill it with dirt from my sandbox that I still have out in the back. And I was going to just stick them up like that. And if you don't have enough sticks, maybe you could find some that fell down off trees in your backyard. What else could you use? I'm just going to switch the camera now that we're done. There we go. I always like to have you see my face. You could maybe use a pipe cleaner and attach it. You could thread it through, poke holes in it like we talked about. If you don't have enough sticks, maybe you can find some outside, some real sticks from trees. Maybe you could use straws. Maybe you could use pipe cleaners. Oh, we said that one. How about popsicle sticks? There's all kinds of things. I bet if you look around your house, you'll find something. So there's a couple of different kinds of flowers that I made. And if you make some at home, send me a picture of them. I love to see them. You know that. I like to put them up on Facebook every once in a while and show what the kids have been doing as crafters at home. So I hope you had fun today. We're talking about spring. It's our 3rd week in March, right? Let me check my calendar. Our 3rd craft in March. So next week we're doing a string art too that actually I have never ever done. I found it on the internet and I thought it looked really cool. So I sent you home some samples and we'll do it together for the first time next week. Well, we'll do it together on Zoom for the first time next week. Hopefully in April, we're going to start meeting for story times outside. So we'll actually get to see each other face to face. We probably won't just start crafts in April. We're going to wait for that one for a little bit longer. But hopefully I'll see you next month. And next week, tune back in for some new string art. I always have fun crafting with you guys, even when I'm at my house and you're at your house. All right, so this is Trisha. I work at the library with the kids. I miss everybody. Bye. I hope you had fun.